Thanks for watching Afternoon Live. Today is National Beach Day, so what better time to learn about one of the most diverse ecosystems on the planet, the Sargasso Sea. Here to share some fascinating facts from the soon-to-be-released Sea Without a Shore, we welcome back science author and illustrator Katherine Roy. It's great to see you.
Thank you for having me, Hannah.
I know this has been such a passion project for you. I was just asking you from kind of research to now, several years in the making.
Yeah, I first heard about the project about 4 years ago from the author, Barb Rosenstock. We're good friends, and this is our second book together. And she was so excited to learn about the Sargasso Sea and that she wanted me to illustrate this book. But it took a long time from getting the right team together and then finding the time of year that we could go out to Bermuda to actually research it. So, and then actually making the art, and then it has to come out. So yeah, it's been a long process.
But it's so great to hear that so much love and care and attention went into a project like this. Tell me about your travels to Bermuda and what you got to experience there.
Yeah, so I didn't know much about the Sargasso Sea before working on this book, but it is the only sea on Earth without a shore, which means that it is defined by currents instead of landmass. So out in the middle of the Atlantic, there are these 5 ocean currents that swirl clockwise, and these rafts of seaweed called sargassum seaweed float there, and so the Sargasso Sea is named for them. And so Barb had found 2 oceanographers, Dr. Carrie Whitaker and Dr. Robbie Smith, who research ocean creatures out there, and so we went out to travel to meet them, and they took us snorkeling, and we got to handle specimens, and we got to go to the aquarium and look at different critters, and on the last day that we were there, actually go out and net clumps of sargassum off the coast and scoop them up and put them in big bins and look at the critters that were in them and get to actually handle some of these little shrimp and bryozoa and barnacles and crabs and watch things skitter and move and compare the scale of different creatures. And it was just so fun. I love learning from life, and I love having the information be something that I can experience, because then I can better capture that and put that into the art and share it with kids.
Have you gotten to do hands-on research like that for any projects before?
Yes, so a few different books that I've worked on. One about sharks. I went off to the coast, off the coast of California to go to the Farallon Islands with shark scientists, and then I went to Kenya for an elephant book.
Wow.
So I love to make that part of the process, because then I can also take video and share it with kids in classrooms for school visits. And so it just
so amazing.
Makes it more alive for me.
What a great way to, pass along this information and knowledge that you've gotten to witness hands-on. So tell us about the book. I know you're so excited that we can pre-order it now.
Yes, yeah. So it starts with a little piece of seaweed. So seaweed is a macroalgae. It's not a plant. It still uses the sunlight to photosynthesize and make its own food, but it floats without any kind of root structure. It doesn't have veins like leaves do. It has globes that keep it afloat. And so these big rafts of seaweed float around and provide an ecosystem for different creatures. So a seaweed starts out like a little piece breaks off and then becomes an ecosystem for small creatures, and then larger and larger creatures, and eventually, whales give birth underneath these big rafts of seaweed. So the book is very lyrical. I try to do the best I could to make it a beautifully illustrated book, and it's really a simple story following this ecosystem become a home for all these different creatures.
Well, I always love all the beautiful colors you use in your illustrations. Is it kind of overwhelming when you're there in Bermuda and you're handling the specimens and you're going, oh my gosh, I have to bring these to life on a page eventually?
It is scary. It is scary. I actually wrote my sketchbook. I'm going to hold it up. So one of the things that I was trying to do was to figure out what kind of colors I wanted to use. And so I made this while I was there. This is what it looks like when you're snorkeling, the color of the water.
Wow.
And then as you get deeper out into the Sargasso, you get these deep blues. And then this is the color of the different seaweeds when it's fresh versus when it's kind of dead on the beach. So what I'll do is I'll make these little sketches, and I will make little tiny compositions and think just about, okay, well, I want to show something small. So you show something small by making something big next to it. So just trying to think about the feelings and the kind of color that I could use and getting those down on the page. This is how the book starts for me. I've got the manuscript. I'm trying to figure out how to break it up into pages, and then eventually, the drawings get better and better and become actual sketches that someone else can understand what's going on.
Right.
But this is where a book starts.
It's so cool to see the beginnings of all that. So let's tie this in locally if we can. A lot of us are heading to the coast for this long weekend.
Yeah.
Can you share any fun stuff about local seaweed in our area?
Yeah, so we don't have sargassum off of our coast, but we do have a couple of different kinds that you can find. So there's rockweed, which is what grows when the tide is low all over the rocks. It looks looks like little crab hands or little mittens. It's kind of fluffy looking and like kind of a yellowish green.
Okay.
But my favorite is bull kelp, which is the really long kelp that you can almost like jump rope with and make sandcastles. So that kind of kelp grows in forests. It doesn't have roots, but it has a hold fast. So there's like kind of a fist on one end. And I just realized this morning as I was reading about it. It's the fastest growing organism on the planet. It can grow 10 inches a day. And so that's why you get these huge pieces of kelp on the beach. So kids going to the beach, families going to the beach this weekend, they can look for bull kelp.
That's going to be so fun.
Yeah, thanks.
How do you feel now that this is finally going to be almost released to kids everywhere? I know you're so excited to share these beautiful illustrations.
Yeah, I mean, it always feels so good to have a book finally out.
Yeah.
It's not a baby, but a little bit. It feels like a
is.
newborn baby.
Yeah.
And so it's just fun to have another book out in the world.
Well, thank you for sharing with us.
you.
It was great to see you. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm so excited about all these wonderful illustrations. The book, again, is Sea Without a Shore. It comes out September 10th. We'll have more information, including how you can pre-order, all on our website at katu.com.